Live from downtown Vancouver at the Vancouver Film School campus, it's time for EP Live. Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day. And now we do it live in a live space right here at 390 West Hastings in Vancouver. It's the VFS Cafe. Thank you for coming, everybody. It's fantastic to have you here today. We've got an awesome show for you all today. We've got guests from Hellbent Games. The founder, Chris Mair, and our old friend, Zoe Flower, have made it down to the space here, and we're going to have them on the show in just a moment. But first, I want to remind you guys that you can come and join our audience if you are in the Vancouver area. You don't have to be going to the Vancouver Film School. The place is open to the public. It's the VFS Cafe at 390 West Hastings. Our new show time is at 4:30 p.m., and we moved it a little bit later so that people could finish up at work, leave half an hour early, and you can come on down and hang out with us. And also the students are also finishing up their classes at around 4 o'clock. So the room should start to fill a little bit more as more and more people know what we're up to and catch on to the cool people that are coming through this space. And we've got lots and lots of good guests waiting in the wings, but we've got a great show for you today. Thank you all for joining us. The Rundown and EP Live is dedicated to Steve Quinlan, who says that anytime I need help on a mission, he's got my back, which is great. Thank you, Steve. Let's get started with your rundown. Captain Marvel might have only been a lukewarm success with critics, including with yours truly, but that hasn't stopped her from becoming a huge hit at the box office. The new superhero adventure opened up to just over $153 million domestically, making it the 7th biggest opening for a Marvel movie, coming in under behemoths like the Avengers films and Black Panther, but well above the debuts of other solo films like Doctor Strange and Ant-Man. Internationally, the film did even better, beating expectations to earn just over $300 million, and did particularly well in China, where it had the 3rd biggest opening of all time. This seems to defy conventional wisdom that movies with female leads don't play as well with audiences. Audiences had an average of 55% male and 45% female split, which is normal for superhero movies, and it shows that the vast majority of people don't have a problem with female leads. Of course not. Captain Marvel will return in Avengers Endgame next month. I am not surprised by the success of this movie. I think we were all incredibly curious and excited for the introduction of a character that isn't as well known, especially now, as Captain America and Iron Man and Thor and the Hulk. And I think we all wanted to see who who Nick Fury was calling at the end of Infinity War. Spoilers. And now we've seen that she's incredibly powerful, and we got a great taste of that power at the end of the film. I was a little bit disappointed with the movie. I wanted it to, sort of pack a little bit more of an emotional punch. I think that we get some pretty cool effects at the end of the film. Felt to me like the movie you could split. The opening was kind of like a 6 out of 10, and the end was an 8 out of 10, so I came in at a 7 out of 10. So I was expecting a little bit more, but still, I'm very happy that the movie has done so well and has basically, shut up a lot of the trolls, the misogyny out there that thinks that, we can't have female leads, and lots of people just sort of grasping and trying to paint Brie Larson in all kinds of horrible ways. She's a good actor, a great actor, an Oscar-winning actor, and she was great in the role, but it's time to see her kind of flourish, and that's what Endgame is going to be about. I can't wait for that. Can't wait to see Captain Marvel continue to grow. And, I heard one more thing about Captain Marvel that definitely rings true, and that she felt like sort of like a Phase 1 Marvel movie, equivalent to something like the original Captain America. And I think there's some truth in that. But for people like me who have been with these movies all the way along, we've seen all 21 of the previous films, I just wanted it to not feel like Phase 1. But because it does feel like Phase 1, there's lots of room to grow, and I think that's what's going to happen, especially now that she's proven herself so fiercely. All right, now we don't have too many more days to wait before Days Gone, because it's gone out the door. Sony and developer Bend Studio have announced that their new zombie game has gone gold, meaning that everything is on track for its April 26th release. This has been a long time coming. Days Gone was first announced at E3 2016 and was expected to land in 2017 or 2018, but before being delayed several times, with the development team saying that they would like to take the time that they need to get it right. Players take the role of a biker, played by Sam Witwer, who struggles to survive after a zombie apocalypse, with the game able to show hundreds and hundreds of unique enemies on screen at the same time. hopefully it will be worth the wait. I am very excited about this game. When I played it at the last Sony event that I was at, I thought this is really fun. It speaks to me. I'm a big single-player, story-driven video gamer out there. I like that kind of stuff, those kinds of campaign-based games. They go right into my heart, so I'm excited about that. And Sony Bend has delivered quality game after quality game after quality game. This is their first time that I think they really get to show us what they're made of on the marquee Sony platform, because they've focused on PSP and Vita titles in the past. So I'm psyched to see that, and I'm also incredibly psyched to see Sam Witwer as the face person, in another video game after the Force Unleashed games. I think it's amazing that this guy has become synonymous with leads in video games. And I'm a big fan of his. He's terrific, and he and I are working out when he is going to be on the show again. And he gets up to Vancouver quite often, so you can expect to see Sam Witwer on this stage very soon, probably just as this game is hitting the market. But we'll keep you posted on that. And speaking of long-awaited games, we're still waiting for Shenmue 3, but in the meantime, here's the first good look at it. Deep Silver and developer EaseNet have released a new trailer for the game, which is the first one that features actual gameplay footage. As expected, it's designed to resemble the first two games, which were released on the Dreamcast 20 years ago, so hopefully it doesn't feel too dated. Shenmue 3 has been delayed several times, but it is finally slated to launch this August. Now, I had a chance to dabble a little bit with Shenmue 1 and 2 when they were re-released on Xbox One and PlayStation 4. I thought they were okay. I do remember playing them on the Dreamcast, and I felt like, oh, okay, these are taking a little while to get going. Let's go, come on, let's go. And then you got into QuickTime events, and there's a charm to this stuff for sure. I am not one of those people, though, that has been completely emotionally changed by these titles. So although I am looking forward to jumping into Shenmue 3 and hopefully mining lots of fun out of it, it's not like it's not the biggest event in my life. But I hope the game turns out to be fantastic, especially for those that jumped in on the Kickstarter and they've been waiting for years and years and years for this to finally get made. I think it's one of the best stories in games, the fact that this game did come back to life. And Yu Suzuki was given the opportunity to sort of deliver on his vision. I think all of that is phenomenal. So excited for all of you who are very excited about Shenmue 3. It's been almost a year since Ni no Kuni 2 was released, but now players can head back to the Revenant Kingdom. Bandai Namco has unveiled The Tale of a Timeless Tome, the second batch of story DLC for the anime-inspired game. It gives players a new adventure that takes them to a fantastical dream world, complete with new characters, weapons, and fighting styles. This is the second of 2 expansions included in the game's Season's Pass, although the developers have yet to reveal exactly how many more expansions we might be getting. The Tale of a Timeless Tome lands next week. I haven't played this game since I reviewed it. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was incredibly accessible. I thought the story was multi-layered and the characters were super cool. The fact that new DLC is out there for it makes me want to jump back into it, but the reality of new games coming out all the time makes me realize that I probably won't be able to get back to it anytime soon. I know one person that is very excited about this, though. That would be Johnny Millennium over at Happy Console Gamer. He loves these types of games, so he's going to be over the moon. Bandai Namco killed it with this game. They've been having a very good run of titles, and this deserved all of the success and all of the adoration that it has received. It's a terrific, terrific franchise. All right, you guys, that is going to do it for our rundown today. Let's take a look at this day and everything cool. Welcome to This Day and Everything Cool for March 11th. Here's one that might trigger you. On this day in 1995, Square Enix released their seminal RPG, Chrono Trigger, on the Super Nintendo in Japan, with the Western release following a few months later. The game was created in collaboration between the Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest teams and features the same active time battle system used in Final Fantasy IV, which is faster than traditional turn-based systems. Chrono Trigger also had loads of humor and much better graphics than the Final Fantasy series, so it was no surprise that it was a hit all over the world. Chrono Trigger has since been recognized as one of the greatest games of all time and has been ported to countless different platforms over the years. Another big Japanese franchise debuted on this day in 2004. The very first Monster Hunter game was released on the PS2 in Japan, with the Western release following in September of the same year. It wasn't a huge hit at first, it only received average reviews, with many players confused by all the enigmatic RPG elements and combat varieties, which are understandably confusing to newcomers. The Monster Hunter series didn't really take off until it found its way to portable game systems like the PSP and 3DS, which is where it became a global phenomenon. More recently, Monster Hunter World has returned the franchise to its console roots, becoming Capcom's most successful game ever. A different kind of game made a huge touchdown on March 11th, 1986. That's when the NFL adopted instant replay for the very first time. Before then, live video was too big and complicated to be able to record and play back instantaneously, and having it allowed audiences to review plays right after they happened. It caused a few controversies, though, with TV hosts coming to a different conclusion than the refs on the field, so the NFL suspended instant replays in 1992, then re-adopted them with the current format in 1999. All right, you guys, I am very excited about our next guests, a couple of friends of mine that I've known for many years from various things. We've got two people that help to run Hellbent Games. We're going to find out all about this studio that is in its 13th year in the Vancouver area. A couple of veterans are joining us now. Zoe Flower, you may recognize from Electric Playground. Let's welcome her to the stage. Come on out, Zoe. And Chris Mair, who started Hellbent Games. Hello, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. You get one too, my friend. Yes, good to see you. Good to see you. Oh, that's some feedback right there. Zoe is back on EP. How many years ago were you on EP?
Oh my goodness, do we have to count?
I know, I don't know. I think we do have to count. That's the deal now.
Late 90s?
Late 90s, yes. And the way that we met each other, just so everybody knows, is that Zoe and her husband Drew ran an internet cafe, which is not unlike the space that we're in right now.
I was going to say, what's an internet cafe?
I know. Well,
It was a network gaming center.
Okay,
network gaming?
much cooler. And those things are around still. You can still walk into network gaming centers, but it was in Yaletown.
As Blink, though.
Yeah, Blink. Yeah, that's right. It was called Blink, and it was in a very cool part of Vancouver, and we got to start the show out of there. And you graciously loaned us, I don't even know, did we pay you guys?
God, no.
We didn't pay you guys, it's amazing. How did we do that?
Yeah.
Well, so we launched the show, and we were friends, but you were always around the show, and you were always helpful with the show. And then in the second season, we said, would you be on the show?
That's right.
And then we started to go to all kinds of events together and travel, and then you were part of the show for a bunch of years before you went and started your own stuff, and you were making your own TV shows.
Yeah, that's right. It was a crazy time. It's amazing. Like, I guess you taught me how to make TV, and off I went.
And it didn't take too long before you took all of the relationships that you had in the video game world, and you found yourself into making video games. Was Chris's company, was Hellbent the first game company that you signed up with?
No. Weird story around that.
Yeah.
We had lunch one day, and we talked about her coming into games because she was really interested in it.
Yes.
And I had an open house at Slant 6, and I was talking to Brian Falcon there, and he's like, oh, I said Zoe's interested in getting into games. So that's awesome. And the next day, he hired her.
Oh, wow.
And I was going to hire her
that's
for my
right. You
place.
worked at Slant 6.
So she worked there. She called me up and thanked me for the job. And I was kind of a weird one. So it was years later when I called her in for coffee at our studio.
We'd always wanted to work together. We
Right.
have a very sort of similar approach to making games and a little bit of a hive mind. I
Well,
would
and
say.
back when you guys were filming EP and she had Blink,
Yep.
I worked at Radical a couple doors down from there. So, I mean, we've known each other for a long time.
Yaletown was a real hub for a lot of this stuff,
That was
right?
amazing.
It was
at that
magical
time,
back then.
It was, because Relic was down there, and
Alex.
and Slant 6 had a space down there, and
They started
Rockstar.
just slowly after that. I mean, we left and made Barking Dog right after that.
Yep.
And then Black Box started right after that. It was really everything expanded from like EA and Radical to like everything it is today, which is pretty crazy.
It has changed a lot in this city, though, hasn't it, for
Yeah.
making games, right?
Yeah,
Like
it
it's
sure has.
there's a huge mobile industry, and we're starting to see companies kind of self-publish and get into their own stuff. But you guys have stayed with mostly console
Well, we did
development.
We did a lot of handheld stuff with Lego for a lot of years,
Yeah.
which was different for us because we came from doing PlayStation and Xbox. And then,
Right.
So we loved the Lego brand, and we knew the guys at Traveler's Tales, and they were amazing. They basically just said, "Can you make games for us?" And they just gave us a rough idea and said, "Go," and we just made the games. They didn't step in, and we made our own designs, and it was really great.
That's
We
awesome.
did that for almost 10 years, though, so it was time for us to really break out and start indie developing, making our own concepts, because we had 1,000 ideas. We just wanted to start doing stuff. So.
That's
and
so
Zoe
cool.
really pushed for that. So
That's what I'm starting to understand here, which is great. You
I'm pushy, you know.
Well, you have an ambition. You want to leave your mark on some stuff, right?
Definitely. Well, I mean, it was a great opportunity, and when I got to, when Chris had called me, I was not working in games at the time, and he had an idea that he wanted to run by me, and he said, "Can you just come for a coffee?" And I stayed for the whole day, and then stayed for 6.5 years.
she's never left
so.
yet. Yeah.
Yeah, and that
Please
was
stay long.
a Lego project that he always felt like he could design any game, and then Lego came to him and said, we want to make a game around the Lego Friends brand, which is a girls centric brand, and he was like, who do I know who makes games, who knows girls?
I wanted to make it the best, most honest experience we could. And,
Yeah.
And I knew she had girls, so I had boys, and I just wanted to make sure we really approached it from all angles. And when I pulled her into the office and we started talking, I pulled out one of the Lego sets and she just started laughing because she bought the exact same set.
Yeah, the night before.
The night before.
Oh my
for
God,
her daughter.
okay.
So,
For my daughter, which I built that night.
That's the way it always works, right?
They need help. We always have to help with the building.
So you guys started working with Warner Brothers and TT. That was a big part of the push of your company. What was that experience like for you?
It was amazing. Jonathan Smith, who was running TT Publishing, we really didn't do much with Warner Brothers in North America. A little bit of marketing at the end, but everything was through their actual Travelers Tales offices over in the UK.
Yep.
And they were just amazing with us. I mean, they sold us right up front. They thought we'd only do one game with them because they don't do many games with people. And then we ended up working for 10 years with them. And they actually wanted us to do more and stuff at the end, but we grew in different directions. But they were amazing. They were really, they funded us well, and they gave us great leeway to just run and build with their Lego products. So it was really fantastic.
Yeah, who
And we
knew
got to
that?
visit them too, so that was really
Yeah, they're
quite
amazing
amazing
out
to
there,
get
right?
involved with the brand. And
Yeah.
Who knew that video games would be so integral to Lego?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, my kids only really know it through video games now. I mean, we obviously have a ton of sets just because, I got to bring a lot home, but
Research.
And before,
Research.
and before I started Hellbent, I left Rockstar Vancouver and took a break for a little while, and I picked up 2 games, Jack and Daxter,
Yep.
and Lego Star Wars on PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
And that's what I played with my 5-year-old son, who's 18, and he's actually going to VFS now.
Oh my God,
So he's
no
at,
way.
at the video game campus down the street from here. But yeah, he's taking game design here, so
That's amazing.
that's awesome. But I sat down and played with him, and we played Lego Star Wars. And when we played Lego Star Wars, that one was amazing for him because it's just such an amazing game. You don't die and have so many set lives. You just pop right back up and build yourself again.
Yeah.
So he was in love with it. So I contacted Lego because I loved the game with my son, and that's how I ended up working with Lego.
So you
I
reached
reached
out.
out to them. I emailed somebody just guessing
it's a
an email
crazy
address.
story actually, because they should never have met, and they were supposed to
No.
meet for tea in a train station, and there was a problem with the trains, and they called each other and realized they were in the same
Yeah,
station.
Paddington
and
Station in
yeah,
London.
It's a neat
We
story.
end up running into each other by the bear and
You
having
and
coffee.
Jonathan Smith?
Me and Jonathan Smith, yeah.
No
back in the day,
way.
Yeah, so
Well, honestly, that's one of the coolest things about the video game industry. And we know that
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
I mean, we're on Facebook and we all have the same circle of friends that has been a part of this industry for so long. And it is really about those friendships.
And it's a very small industry. I think it's a very big money-making industry, and everything, but it's so small. I mean, how many times do we see you a year and all around the world, right? Every
Yeah.
time we bump into you. So it's amazing that our industry, I mean, that's always our running joke from Vancouver, is we never see anyone from Vancouver in Vancouver.
Right.
We see everyone in San Francisco or Los Angeles.
So I
or
really
wherever,
appreciate you guys getting off your butts and coming down here. This is super cool. But Chris, you always, you sort of come off as a very sort of unassuming person, but you've worked on massive games in your career. You always seem so low-key and everything's chill. But you worked at Rockstar and made Max Payne 3?
When the doors close at our office,
Oh, yeah, it's all-
I just yell at people.
Oh, did you?
Actually, I didn't
It's
actually
all
work on
that.
Max Payne 3. Max Payne 3 started just after I left. I worked on a bit of Bully.
Okay.
Before that, I worked on a bit helping out with Max Payne 2. And
Okay.
yeah, I was working on another title that wasn't announced that got canceled ultimately later at Rockstar. That a bit after I left, about a year after I left. So.
Okay.
But I did work on Bully. I was one of the
What's
first
that other
employees
little
working on
game? Counter or something?
Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike,
Counter-Strike was
that's
was a long time ago. My kids find me, I'm like kind of mildly internet famous because there's a Wikipedia page on me about Counter-Strike. So
That's so amazing.
I think that's pretty funny.
And you worked in, it wasn't Homeworld, but it was...
Homeworld Cataclysm.
Oh, Cataclysm,
so-
yeah.
Relic was just down the door from Radical. When we
Yeah.
left, we shared office space with those guys and worked on the first expansion, which became a full sequel, and that was great. Yeah, I was the first designer on that one as well. So.
That's amazing. When did you know this was your life, that this was going to be your career? Because I knew you when I think you were just getting going with a lot of this
very
stuff.
early when
It was that same
through
time.
Roger
Yeah.
Earl.
Yeah.
So
Didn't you guys fight over an arcade?
No,
Stand-up?
Roger.
Sub-Rock, you and Roger fought over Sub-Rock at a place.
Oh, did we? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Is
think
that how
so.
we met?
I think
Yeah,
so,
oh my
yeah.
God, that's hilarious.
Yeah, way before EP, yeah.
That sounds like us. A couple of
I knew when I was
nerd fight.
When I was about 8, I wanted to make video games.
Yeah.
And then for some reason I forgot that, and I went to music school and studied music, and then all of a sudden when I moved to Vancouver, Radical was here, and someone said, well, you make games at home, why don't you go to work at Radical? I'm like, they make games at
Well, you didn't used to be able to go to school.
Yeah, I
for
know. So
video
Yes.
games.
No, I didn't have this when I was a kid. Yeah, you had to
And that, I
learn
mean,
on the
that-
streets.
That was kind of the way in for EP as well, because I don't feel like we cracked it on television, and we also got into the video game industry, and I don't think you could do that quite as easily today.
No.
You know,
But there's lots of avenues now to get into. the
yeah,
game
everybody's a broadcaster, and everybody has a way to communicate, and you can make them now
like
too.
my son can actually go to school and study and learn all these things.
I went to
and-
VFS.
That's right, you did.
Yeah.
I did.
Did you go to this building?
I went to Digipen and then did the 3D Applied Arts and Animation.
I mean, this show is coming
Then-
off like a big commercial for VFS. We shoot it at VFS, and every second or third person I interview, I went here. It's
It's
amazing.
It's a statement about where we live, though.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
It's, Digipen's in the States now. But
Yeah.
It was Vancouver Film School to start, and then.
What did you take
and
at VFS?
I did classical animation, and then I did soft image. Remember soft image?
Yes.
Pre-Maya.
Yeah. Did you use that in your career ever, or?
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess you
yeah.
used it in all of the design work that you did a lot of your own graphics
Yeah, I did
and
all
stuff too.
of the graphics and
Yeah.
opening.
You did some of our early
animations.
logos.
I did. I know.
Yeah.
I'm looking around.
Yeah.
It's like
There's probably on the background up
That
here.
was
That's
me.
yours
That
right
was
there.
me.
That's
No.
amazing. Yeah. And actually, I've thanked you already before, but I have to thank you because between season 2 and 3, I didn't know if we were going to get more money. And so I had to get a job because I was running out of money, and I took a job with Black Box Games, which was a great company, and I was actually working on a NASCAR game and was working with a lot of our friends, E-Man, who
works with us.
yeah. And it was a great gig, and then out of the blue, we got a proposal for a company to sort of acquire the brand and help us kind of launch a new season and build up everything. But during that time, I asked you to kind of man the phones because we were still looking for sponsors and partners, and you were
right.
kind of like,
You answered phones.
well, you were.
just get that, just like the reception at our.
Well, it wasn't reception though. It was pitching the.
We don't have reception at all.
Yeah. But you were keeping the fires burning on Electric Playground, which was very sweet.
Well, I loved it. I mean, it was
Yeah.
an amazing time, right? Like, I got to do what I wanted to do, and that's why I can make games now, because I got to ask every possible question I wanted to of
Yeah.
every developer out there.
Yeah, she knew she could
right?
do it because she
I
knew
was
all the
just-
hard things.
I knew the end game was to get a job, so a real job.
I saw
You
that
haven't
a lot
figured
too.
that out yet. but-
Well, I feel like no, I haven't. But I feel like this has been an extraordinary opportunity for me to put people in front of the camera, and I feel very lucky that I get to do that. So that's my privilege, and I feel honestly, I talk about this all the time. I feel like people aren't doing that anymore. People are just sort of ranting, and they're just looking at the camera, telling
Showing
people what
video.
I think, and they'll read something and they'll say, "I think this," and I think, but nobody has conversations anymore, and I think that's that's what I love to do.
Like at Radical Days, come and support all of our products, and because like we were down the corner, so I mean, it made it really easy for you and easy for us. But it was really great for me to see like you interview all the other people in the world and include us in that family. But I do regret kind of the one day at Barking Dog you came in, we were working on global operations and I was so sick and I said, can we move this to another day? And you're like, nope, show's got to run. And I
show
have a
must
video,
go
you sent
on.
me a VHS tape of it. I've never
did I
watched it
do?
again, but I was on video, I could barely stay standing. And you propped me up with something and I said, just get through 10 minutes and we're done. So yeah. Can burn that footage if you ever find that footage, yeah.
Oh man, I can remember E3s because we all used to get so drunk and somehow do the work at E3. All of us at GDC. We were young and stupid, but we would get so drunk. But everybody, the whole business.
Oh, yeah. No.
So everybody just reeked of alcohol. But I remember we went to go and visit. I don't know if you were there that day, but there was some test drive game or something. But the guy that was supposed to be our interview subject was totally passed out under the table, and they had to kick him to wake him up. And then he got up and did the interview, and I think he went and puked afterwards. But the early days of game making.
yeah.
Take away that magical.
You have some footage there, I'm sure I never want to see again. I have to be nice to you.
We used to take cameras to the parties. It was crazy.
That's when you asked us to do this. So I said, well, we have to do it because Vic's got so much
got
footage of me.
blackmail on
We
everybody.
snuck into that
Yeah.
Foo Fighters concert using the camera with no tape in it. We were out of tape.
Oh, yeah.
Tape, out of tape.
Out of tape.
How old are we?
How old am I?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. We did that a lot.
Yeah, we
would
did.
just put the camera on, hold the
It's
microphone, and
different
just
now.
walk right through.
Now it's just a phone. It's
Yeah,
a
no,
little bit different.
Yeah.
Everyone's a cameraman.
They're ready for us.
Yeah.
How do you sort of reconcile the TV world and the game world? How are they similar or different for you?
Well, production applies in both cases, right? You're always on a deadline, a budget. So, that was a huge part of, how I ended up in games, was being able to recognize a lot of that. And the same with the creative side, just in terms of coming up with a bigger picture vision and being able to sell that through to just a publisher and a team at the same time.
Yep.
So I think those things cross both platforms, but games is a lot harder, a lot more challenging.
When I worked in games, I felt, especially because with the television, you're kind of shipping stuff all the time. There's this constant momentum, and it's like, okay, that's done. What do we do now? With games, you can't really operate like that. You have to have.
Yes, even when you want to.
Yeah, you have to have
there's
a lot of patience.
There's always kind of 3 days in games. Like there's the day you announce a game.
Yeah.
So for a long time you're working covertly, and your family's saying, "What are you working on?" I can't tell you. Then one day you get that day. It's great. You announce it. Well, the day you sign the project is a really good day.
Yeah.
Then the day you announce it, and then the day that whole time till you release it, your whole family's going, "What are you working on now?" It's the same thing we're working on before.
Yeah.
And then finally there's that one day you
Yeah.
release it. But yeah, it's a very long, drawn-out process where you guys work on such a crazy rate of just turnover.
But having said that, because I've worked on development where it's long and you work on the same thing and it's, you're just sort of working on something over a long period of time, but in the current stuff that we're working on, it's so iterative and quick, so it really does have that feeling to it. It's exciting and you can play it. It's been playable from almost day one.
That's
so
awesome.
We're doing a lot where we get to just try things, and it's pretty exciting.
That's part of the new sort of process of development and sort of embracing established engines, and there's a lot of sort of middleware and a lot of work. I don't mean to paint a picture of it being easy, because I know you take all of that in.
It's way easier in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
Oh, it's
if
never
we have
been
to develop
easier,
the
I don't
tech
think.
and develop the game at the same time, those are two different disciplines. And,
Which
and
every company used to do, right?
Yeah.
So you would watch EP every week, and we'd go visit 5 studios in a show or whatever. Every one of those studios was making their own engine and trying to figure out how to crack the nut.
And between games, you'd pretty much throw away all of that and build it again.
Yeah.
And it was just an amazing amount of independent learning and process going on all the time. And now those engines, they really take away a lot of that risk, and they really make it easier for us to jump in. Like with our current game, which isn't announced yet, we were up and running a multiplayer game within about 3 or 4 weeks after we started working.
Unreal.
And
Right.
it's been working every day since, and we play our game every day since.
And our game before that was Unity, so.
Yeah.
And
they're
that was
both-
Wick that was
Yeah,
the
Wick was
previous
on
one?
Unity, yeah.
And
It's been a while since we've released something. Yeah.
So tell me about Wick, because I want people to kind of take a little deep dive into Hellbent, because some of this stuff was more sort of for kids, and we have a lot of viewers that have grown up with the show that have kids, so they're going to be interested in taking
Well, we
a look
wanted
at
to make a
some
game
of
that matched Hellbent, the name, because it always confused people.
Right, yeah, you're working on
Lego games, yeah, sold in
Yeah,
Walmart.
and I mean, your kids were grown at that point.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I shift the company according to what my kids want to play.
just to be cool with our
They
kids.
wanted a horror
that's the
game,
goal,
so yeah.
so.
No, we decided to do a little test. We knew we wanted to jump from doing a bunch of the work for hire style work to doing our own independent concept stuff where we come up with our own IPs and things like that. And with this one, we just had a brainstorming session and said, okay, we had like three people to work on a game. Like, what can we come up with?
Yeah, we were in between, it is in development, you have a bunch of people who aren't necessarily fully tasked, right? Because they're waiting for something to happen in another discipline. And so we sat down and said, we've got, this group, and we don't really have a lot of artists available right now. What could we do? And what would we like to, we wanted to try out Steam because we had another product we were working on, another indie game. And we thought, well, we should put something out onto Steam just to see how this feels. And
test everything out.
Test out the system. And so we had these sort of parameters as designers, and we thought, what's popular on Steam? And Chris is a huge horror fan.
Right.
And I mean, I love survival horror as well. And So we knew what genre we wanted to
She
do.
loves it. She
loves to hate it.
Loves
Yeah.
hating it. Yeah, she's
And,
really
there's-
creepy at writing it, so it's.
Yeah, that was a surprise. From Lego
We
to
had to dial it way
horror.
back from what she wanted to have in the
Really?
game. Oh yeah.
Dark.
Yeah, dark.
Give me an
It's
example.
dark.
No.
Well, she's always doing like deep dive research on
nice,
stuff.
see?
So some of the stuff she finds, like we had a game about Wick's a game about
It's a ghost
urban legend about
stories.
ghost stories about kids in a forest, and you have to try to survive the night with a really cheap dollar store candle that burns down really quickly, and you have to find a new one and light it all the time,
okay, cool.
or else you're in the dark. And when you're in the dark, these kid ghosts attack you way faster. And some of the pictures of kids and puppets and things that she would dig up off the internet.
Oh no! Don't do that.
We are
No.
on
my
so
goodness.
many lists, I'm sure, for the stuff we research
Yeah,
at work.
Google
Yeah.
is just terrified of me at this point. It doesn't know what to put into
Oh my God.
But it turned into some really amazing lore that we breadcrumbed through the game, and then the audience for that game has been amazing. They still talk to us all the time.
We
and
really
they,
wanted to make something that that would have an audience with YouTube and Twitch, and
They like the jump
and
scares.
we
and
knew that was going to be accessible, and that was something that would stream well, and so that's what we were trying to do research on, but we didn't realize how much we'd fall in love with being so close to our audience, right?
Yeah.
Like from a narrative perspective, that we could sort of dream up this ridiculous breadcrumb mystery, and not everything was answered.
a lot of it wasn't
And
answered,
it's
just very
incredible
shallow,
to
but we had
watch.
ideas of what everything was.
I
and-
thought, I'd written enough for launch to be like, oh, that's probably like a good 20 hours of sleuthing through the game, and it'd be like 18 minutes in, and the internet solved everything, and we're sitting there writing.
Yeah, we actually we hit a
Yeah.
we hit a game we hit a little game inside of our game.
Yeah.
And we thought, oh, it'll take months for someone to solve the mystery and get there. And one streamer went on live and sat down for like 8 hours straight.
Oh, that's amazing.
Aaron say what? He sat down and just said, I'm going to figure this out live right now. So we jumped onto his live stream chatting with him saying,
slow down.
slow
No.
down, we're trying to take him other directions.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
But ultimately he did crack it that day, and it was pretty amazing seeing, because there were
Some
like
amazing
400 or 500
moments,
people all
yeah.
yelling how much they thought it was amazing online, which was
Yeah,
a
and
small
that
number
really
at the
just
time,
got
but it
us
was pretty
hooked
cool. So.
on developing something that would have that same
Yeah.
resonance, where we could be with our audience every day and
That's awesome.
watching them experience it.
Speaking of streaming, I want to give you guys the opportunity, if you've got any questions for Zoe and Chris, go ahead and ask them. Just do me a favor and put it into all caps so I can see it on the thing here. Zoe, are you still going to E3, Adrian Leon says?
Oh yeah, no, we've been going every year, so
Tell the
we'll
story
be there.
about you coming behind our shot last year.
I don't know how to do that in a PG way. No, it's not okay. It's not. That sounds worse than it is.
We always try to see. We never see you in Vancouver, so
know.
we get so excited when we see you down in LA, and you
I
guys
wish
are
you-
outside,
I wish you
out
could run
front,
down.
where I know you're
Yeah.
going to be. Right, you got your mic, and your lovely cameraman is trying to get that shot at the end of the day.
That'd be
and
Blake Siefkin.
Yeah.
And I just go.
We'd never
I
met
decide
Blake
I'm just
before
going to go
that.
and mess with you and go behind you and do like the hey, and all I hear is this "fuck off."
That's Blake being nice to our
Yeah.
viewers out there.
I wish I'd recognized you when I walked in, because I would have just said that right
It
back
was
to you.
honestly. It made our E3. That was our favorite moment of that E3 altogether. We talked about it
We still talk
nonstop.
about
We
it.
still talk about it. It
Blake
was so
takes his job
fantastic.
seriously.
I think it's
Yeah.
We
fantastic.
couldn't do this shit.
He was
without Blake
he was
taking his
protecting the
job
brand.
And honestly,
for
I
sure.
felt terrible, Blake. I'm so sorry. I should know better, having had to try to get that same shot. There was an E3, I remember having to try to stand up on a cement pedestal with
Yes.
because with the big cameras, you'd attract a huge crowd,
Oh, yeah,
right?
it was crazy, yeah.
And
Well,
and then
we-
you flub
we
your
didn't have
line.
everybody
and
having a camera back then.
Yeah.
Either. We were kind of unique for about a minute, and then everybody got their own cameras. But Zoe, we got a great question here from Northern Sequence. Zoe, what's in your pocket?
I don't have pockets.
That was your
These
segment.
are fake pockets.
It was what's in Zoe's
Oh, that's
pocket.
A segment. Oh God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, the
What's in your
handheld
pocket?
section. Oh, good memory.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Did you work on Skate? Rest in peace, Black Box. None of us worked
No.
on Skate.
E-Man did.
But yeah, E-Man did.
E-Man did, yeah.
Yeah.
Who works? Emmanuel Sapitas?
Sapitas,
Yeah, who works at
TV art lead, yeah.
Hellbent, and he also worked at EA, and he worked at Black Box, and he was a
worked at
great
Radical,
friend.
yeah.
And Radical, yeah. And I knew him from acting school at the University
Oh,
of
really?
Victoria.
Well,
Yeah.
he has a role in Wick.
Yeah, he does tons of
He's
voice
a
work in Wick.
drunken
yeah.
trucker,
Yep.
and he is.
I'm
a
the other
priest,
drunken trucker. We're both
Oh,
drunken
okay.
truckers.
and he's also the priest.
He's the priest,
Preacher?
and he's a couple other characters too. Yeah.
Did you get the whole
Doesn't
team?
sing.
to-
Oh yeah, we did all our own voice work.
That's great.
Yeah.
What's your?
Am I? I
You
think
are. You
I
are.
am.
You're.
Oh, I hate doing voice work because he's so good. He
you
can do
might
any voice.
be-
Get
you
him,
might
get him
be-
to do.
I'm not going to
his
do anything.
good
I'm not.
voices.
No,
Yeah.
I need to be
Foster
paid or I don't do
Powers.
anything.
Let's do it.
But Zoe, I think, was
Michael Caine.
Mary. I think you're the character of Mary.
I think I
Solid
am,
snake.
so.
Solid snake. I'm not David. Yeah. There's no way. Yeah.
That's awesome. Adrienne Leon says, thanks, Zoe. You got another thanks, Zoe. And Chris, why are the Oilers still so terrible? That's from Corberg.
Oh,
Is that a buddy?
Animator. They've won 6-2-2 the last few games. They're doing pretty good, Corey. I mean, they're ahead of Vancouver
There's no
right
sports section on EP Live.
now. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Corey,
What are you
go back to work. Get back to
What are you-
animating.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Jamie's got a question for us.
Oh, live question.
For somebody wanting to get into games, what skills should they be looking for to be successful?
Oh,
Or what would you recommend?
that's a good one. What skills would you guys recommend? I guess everything applies now,
Yeah.
but are there specific things that people should kind of have in their back pocket if they want to make games?
I mean, to pick a niche that you're going to be able to focus on, something you really love, that you want to work, you can see yourself working on lots of hours. I mean, we don't actually, at Hellbent, we don't do crazy overtime, but we do a lot of focused work when we're there. So just something if you're really passionate about it, make sure, if you want to be an
Yeah.
artist or a programmer or a designer, like we're both designers, so.
Don't talk shit about the place you just worked. That's a good
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Get a lot of that.
Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, it's amazing.
And the business is so small.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
Why don't they understand that?
Yeah.
like-
That's
Yeah,
a very good, and you know what? That applies to everything. That's not
Yeah.
just video games.
Because
It's,
every night after
yeah.
work, all of us company owners get together and have
Yeah.
martinis. So we'll swap stories about
that's not true, especially in this city.
I know, but
I
it sounds good.
I know it sounds good, but that's kind of why I wanted to have this space for so long, because I feel like we don't get together enough.
Just so you can see your friends.
Yeah, well, yes, yeah, and come back and hang out with all of that stuff. But I think that's really important. I feel like in San Francisco, you know that too, because we have a lot of mutual friends down there. They have like a monthly get together.
I know.
You know.
We've
We
been
keep talking about
that.
it.
We should
Yeah.
not-
We do
we
more
should
talking
stop
about it.
and do it.
But back to your question, I think find a school and study what you want to do, and then get into.
If you can't go to school, though, I think
Yeah.
finish something. That's a big one.
Yeah,
like bring
finish.
something in that you've made, especially from a design perspective.
That's the hardest thing, I think, is finishing anything. Even a small project, just finish it and prove that you can get through it. Everything's easy to start. I can start 1,000 projects, but finishing it's a real proof that you can do something.
Well, this is a good segue into the fact that you guys are growing right now, and you are looking for people. And I noticed that when Capcom Vancouver went down, you had tweeted out to get in touch with you. So if there are any developers
Please do,
or
yes. We are
aspiring
actively
developers, are
hiring.
you
Yeah,
looking?
no, we look. I mean, our skill level goes from like E-Man, who's been in the industry as long as we have, to
Yep.
like brand new. We have a
Oh
VFS
wow, we have
programmer
such a
just joined
diverse,
us.
awesome.
Yeah,
I'm so happy with our team right now.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
how big is the company?
we're about 30 right now.
30 right now, and we're going to be about 40 by the end of this year. So we have, or maybe more. We're hiring actively a lot right now.
a lot of young people
You've
coming
had-
right out of schools in Vancouver. So we've been hiring a lot of students.
Awesome.
So-
But you've worked with studios that are much bigger than that.
Yeah, I mean, Rockstar Vancouver. I mean, Radical, when I was there, we were 300 at one point. And,
Yeah.
And Rockstar Vancouver, we grew from when I sold Barking Dog to become Rockstar. We grew from 60 when we were acquired to about 120 when I left there.
What's
so.
the magic number from your perspective? I
For
know it's
me-
different for everybody.
For me, it's around 60 because then you know everybody. And I love to know everybody. I don't want to be so massive that I can't know you and your family and know your name and
Yeah.
have something more meaningful than hi to say to everyone every day. So that's really important to me.
I
It's
can't
not
do that after 30.
Yeah.
But I'm creative director, so my job is literally to walk around and check in what everyone's doing most of the time. So
Totally.
I design my role around what I love to do, and that's to interact with
Well,
everyone.
you're shepherding. You're using your experience, and you're shepherding and trying to get this thing going forward, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have so many, like Zoe's saying, our team is so talented right now. Like, it's really a great combination of all the parts that it's, they just do so much great work. I can just help shape it a bit, and that's awesome, so.
So 13 years at Hellbent.
Yeah.
You're in your 13th year. You're months away from.
teenagers now.
You're teenagers. You're about to announce your next game, which is probably rated T.
It is rated T, actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was my guess.
It's got some scary tones and some action tones, and it's multiplayer, but it's really cool. We love our own game. We play our game every day. We actually have a lottery to see who gets in to play the game because everyone's dying to play our own game. It's sort of
Is it a
conceited to
battle
say.
royale game?
No.
So
It's
conceited.
it sounds it's It sounds
not a
conceited to
battle
say that we
royale.
want. If you have 5 players, it can't really be a battle royale. I'm saying too much now. It's
5-person battle royale.
It's a really amazing experience.
Groundbreaking.
Everyone builds stuff all day long, jams it into the game. We play it every day and have a ton of fun. We laugh, we scream. It's a fantastic.
Does it feel that your company has been building to this?
In the last
Yeah.
4
Yeah.
years, for sure, this has been what we've been trying to go, and the trajectory's been a little bumpy at times, but we are doing amazing right now, and it's a really fantastic project. It's my dream project, so it's been really great working on this. So, yeah.
That is awesome. So you'll have to come back when it's just about to
Yes.
launch. You'll walk us through it. We'll get some people up on stage and we'll play it.
We'd love
Is
to
it
do that.
5-player co-op? Can't answer that. All right. Okay.
Players, I'll give you that much.
Let's see if I got like 1 or 2 more questions. Question: did reviewing all those games help with any insight into your current work? Do you ever take a step back and review the work as if you were a reviewer? I guess that
Oh my
question is
goodness.
for you.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
a huge part. And when I originally got hired at Slant 6, that was a big thing that they brought me in to do, right? Because they were like,
They
you
need
know,
perspective.
They
I find
really,
that
you
when
do.
I-
You get so close
Yes.
to what you're doing, and we do this all the time, right?
Well, I think if you're making a game, and I think this would be true for a movie or whatever, like who wants, if you're working so hard and you're building something all day and then you want to go back and look at a screen again, I think you want to get away from that stuff for the most part, right? I mean, I see you guys on Facebook, you're always outside.
Yeah.
That's
That's pretty much what we do.
right?
Yeah.
You want to
Yeah.
escape from the screen life.
Yeah.
And I think that's why analysis is so important, some outside sort of observation on that, and why that's a valuable asset in a team.
Definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I always go back to, is always taking that step back and saying, like, how would I have approached this as a reviewer? And it's funny now because I see that my old friends, and a lot of them have moved into that as a full-time
Yes.
Yeah, we had a
consultancy,
group come
and they
through our
just
office.
came to us, and I was on the other side of that table. It was
Yeah, they came
really
and did
quite funny.
the evaluation of our game before it's even out, just to sort of see, and that was really interesting to see Zoe's take on other people coming and doing what she did really well for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So, it's-
Yeah, I'm of 2 minds of that, because I feel like we've lost a lot of really good reporting and
Yes.
analysis on the media side to people that want to go and make real money somewhere else. And I feel like that's a shame, because I feel like that criticism is an important element of there, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
But I also see the value of trying to get to this stuff before it ships as well, right? And that's what I hear from my friends that are doing that kind of thing. This is a great question. Northern Sequence, what is your favorite memory of your time on EP?
Oh, I'm so bad with answers. My kids always ask me about favorites.
Oh,
I couldn't- Favorite. Probably some of the more embarrassing things, I think, that stick out in my mind. Like, I was such a crazy Metal Gear Solid fan. And
You were
I
such a-
ended up in
I
an
don't think that
elevator with
ended.
Kojima and just made a total ass out of myself. That's a great memory.
We both met David Hayter, who was just on
Yeah,
the show
yeah.
at the same time at his house, which was
Yeah.
very strange and weird. But yeah.
Yeah, that was a good memory. Some
Lot-
of the first season memories of traveling too. We had no money
No.
and used to play guitar in the back of the van.
That's
and
right, yeah.
Why were we in a van? Who had a van?
We'd rent a van.
Oh.
This is like the beginning stages, but we didn't have travel
Scooby-Doo.
budgets. Yeah, and we'd stay in 1 or 2
guys had to
hotel rooms, and there would be a whole bunch of us, and we would just visit companies all the way up and down the coast. You know, we were Canadian television. We didn't have a
If
big
we'd
budget.
been smart, we could have done a second show about like dive hotels
Yes.
at the same time,
Oh,
like
yeah.
very
And
Anthony
we could have
Bourdain
invented
style. and-
vlogging.
We could have done a
We could
lot
have
of
invented
things.
YouTube. We actually had video on our website in 1995.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. It would take forever for people to be able to download it, but it was nuts. Okay.
Yeah, I could go on with memories. Yeah.
yeah, this
Tokyo,
is
there's
awesome.
So many good.
Well, I love that you guys are here. We could definitely keep talking, but I think what we want to do is we want to keep you wanting more, and we want you guys to come back.
Yeah, we'll come back right away for sure. I mean,
Yeah?
You'll be
Okay.
our first stop.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
You've got that on.
Thank you to Zoe
yeah.
and Chris
Thanks, Rick.
from Hellbent Games. And right now it's time for a review on the run.
that for road rash.
Although it's a brand new game, Devil May Cry 5 seems like a very nice trip right back home. Capcom's latest title for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One and also for the PC is a tour de force. It is an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous game, and it's filled with all kinds of great action and lots of cool, zany characters, and it's a hell of a lot of fun.
Devil May Cry.
Now, the way the plot sort of unfolds in this game, it takes place over a certain number of days, and you start off in Nero's shoes. You are introduced to Miko, who is riding this Devil May Cry van, which is hilarious, and she does all kinds of augmentations for you. Nero has a tragic accident befall him at the beginning, but don't you worry, Nico has got the skills to augment him with some powerful new weaponry that he can use to his advantage. I'm trying not to spoil too much of the stuff, but there's a lot of familiar characters in here. There's a lot of callbacks to previous Devil May Cry scenarios and sequences. You even get a little movie at the top of the menu screen that allows you to refresh your memory on all the twists and turns of this very dramatic plot that exists within the Devil May Cry universe.
So, what's your name?
I have no name. Just kidding. You can call me V.
You are definitely going to be playing as Dante in this game, but you're also going to be playing as V and as Nero in this title.
This is my gig. Leave Nero out of this.
Each of these three characters plays very differently, and I think that's core to this game's appeal. Every time that you jump into the shoes of a different protagonist, you take on a whole new set of attributes and a whole new set of weaponry and skills. And in the case of V in particular, you get these extra beasts that you can call into action, and you can send these different little animal characters out to do all kinds of damage, and it's incredibly addictive. Dante comes with the biggest arsenal, with lots and lots of great details. You get an incredible assortment of blades, including a motorcycle that he rips in two, and then the motorcycle becomes a massive swinging blade that he can actually ride on and take out different bad guys with. You've got all kinds of projectile weaponry as well, starting with your two handguns and then working up to a rocket launcher. You've got a cowboy hat that you can fling around yourself. It uses up some of the red orbs that you pick up, the blood orbs that you pick up, and also helps you to gain new blood orbs, which are the currency in the title that allow you to buy all kinds of new skills, and the very useful regeneration diamonds that let you come back to life. And then you just get right to it. You are hacking and slashing at giant bug-like creatures and three-headed dogs and monster-sized massive bosses that are really fun to take down. And then you have all kinds of other enemies that you have to take out that come in various sizes and are at various levels of frustration. Some of them take a whole bunch of damage before they go down. Some of them you can just zip right to and hack and slash your way through. And, as I'm describing how the game plays, I have to kind of couch my words here a little bit because every encounter is different depending on the weaponry you use and the character you use. You're using a lot of the same button combinations, and a lot of the mechanics feel similar from character to character, but the way the effectiveness of these attacks plays out is incredibly different from character to character. And even within the character, you can change stances, you can change the combination of weaponry, so you could be, blasting with a shotgun and slicing with your motorcycle blade as Dante, or you can attack with your Puma, which becomes all of these weird shapes and spiky kind of objects that attack into characters, or you've got a bird that's kind of your projectile device, or as Nero, you've got these cool augmented hand power-ups and abilities, and you've also got a kick-ass blade and a pretty furious handgun as well. And then you can go into your devil forms, and each one of the characters has their own hyper-powered variation as well. So the combinations are incredibly fun to explore and examine. You do spend a lot of time in the roots of this giant devil demon hell tree, and there's a sameness that you see in the visuals from level to level. And to be honest, I think I've enjoyed a little bit more of the variety that previous Devil May Cry games have presented to us, even if they were lower poly and the creatures were, made with less technology. They also had this element of, freshness, because we were just being introduced to Devil May Cry as a franchise, but also there was a little bit more freeform imagination. And I think the templates were being kind of set with previous Devil May Cry games, and this game doesn't really veer too far away from the templates. It's surprising in its ability to let you play with these different characters and explore with them in lots of different ways, and that's the fun of it. But The areas that you explore in, as beautifully rendered as they are, start to look a little similar from level to level, and I wanted a little bit more diversity. But I think that sort of plays also into the idea that this is a tight time frame, and there's a definitive beginning, middle, and end to this story that transpires. And then, you know what? I mean, this is a game that's incredibly easy to get sucked into and to play. I didn't play it in one sitting, but I played it in huge gulps because it was so addictive and so fun. And once you beat it, you're immediately encouraged to try it again with a new mode. And of course, you've collected all these new weapons, and there are several still yet to find. There are lots of little secrets and surprises all the way through. I guarantee any Devil May Cry fan out there is going to have a huge smile on their face. Capcom has really delivered with this one. It's not a shocker, it's not like a reinvention, but it is just what a Devil May Cry fan like myself would want. It's already a big hit, it's already hit the market, and people are very, very happy with them. And I count myself among those.
How does one friggin' guy have so much luck, huh?
Devil May Cry 5 is fantastic, even if I'm not walking away shocked by it. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10, and Capcom is on fire.
Come on, let's go clean up this garbage.
Yeah, Devil May Cry 5 is a superb game, and we've got a treat for you. We're going to play a little bit of it. Jamie's going to join me up on stage in a second, but first, we have a buried treasure for you. You know, sometimes a buried treasure is more by virtue of the fact that it came out a little while ago. Even if it was a big hit, it's still worth going back for. That is what Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing definitely represents. I was recommended this game by a couple of people. One of them was David Oxford, and I absolutely adore this game. Of course, you're in a car as Sonic the Hedgehog, which is always weird. It's always weird that Sonic ever needs to have any vehicle. He's so fast. But what they did with this game was so brilliant, as they gave you tons of other Sega characters from all kinds of fantastic franchises that they have, like Samba de Amigo and Jet Set Radio Future. You got all kinds of vehicles that were tuned for these characters, and different abilities that were tuned for these characters, levels that were remixed and put in there to kind of promote these characters and celebrate these characters. But the thing that put this game over the top was the music from these franchises was also interwoven into the experience, and those tunes were remixed and retooled, and it was just amazing. So it was a light show with all of these great, beautiful 3D graphics with all these characters that we love, but it was also just this beautiful concert of awesome Sega tunes just blasting at you. Sumo Digital was the developer. They tuned it. They did a great job with the mechanics and the handling and all the weaponry. And it was so damn good that their new Sonic racing game, which hasn't come out yet at the time that we're recording this, has a lot to live up to, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why it's been delayed a little bit. I freaking love this game. I would in fact love this game to be remastered. I think it would be a great move for Sega to do it, or we get a proper sequel with, you know, maybe some of the new characters that Sega has introduced since this game came out. It's wonderful, and if you've never played it, you are going to be overjoyed when you jump in this, especially if you're a Sega fanatic like I am. Absolutely a buried treasure. Man, and the follow-up to Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing was the Transformed game, which was, I think, even better. Incredible games, and that's why we are waiting for Sumo to release the Team Sonic Racing game, I think, or Sonic Team Racing. I'm looking forward to that. Sumo rocks. Be very interesting to see if that Sega and Google rumor is going to be true, and we're going to see Sonic Racing and stuff like that on the new Google system. E3 is going to be insane this year. Okay, we've got Let's Play and Chat, and to join us up on stage, Jamie is going to come up here and take the controls of Devil May Cry. Thank you, Jamie.
Oh, thank you, Victor.
Longtime supporter of our content, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, grab the controller there, and you're going to have to look at it off of the monitor here.
That one. Okay.
This laptop actually is a new addition into the studio here. This is from our friends at MSI. They sent us the P65, the Creator laptop, which is they've positioned as you can keep going right into
okay.
it. So continue. They've positioned as something that you could build and edit on and do all kinds of graphic work on. But it's also a powerhouse system for playing games. This is one of the most recent titles that's out there right now. I downloaded it on Steam this morning. Everything is set to Ultra. It's got an i7 in there. I'll be playing a lot more PC stuff on this, both in the studio and also on the road. And I'll have a
kind of a thorough review of this as a gaming device soon. But it's pretty cool for us to be able to run high-end games off of something so small right there. So thank you, MSI, for sending this out. It's the P65, and it looks pretty sweet, doesn't it?
It looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet little
It's
device
like
here.
they reinvented 4K.
Well, I think this is all running at 1080p, but it's very slick. It looks good up-resed on our 4K monitors too. Oh, okay. You're not hearing anything? No? Oh, they're here. Oh, you're not getting it in the room. They're getting it in the chat. Okay, I don't know what the... Blake is fiddling with knobs, and while he's fiddling with knobs and you're fiddling with controllers, you go ahead and ask me any questions that you want. We are trying to wrap up in about 5 or 10 minutes, so this is going to be the longest Let's Play chat, but you got a lot of Devil May Cry in this game, so in this show so far. Oh, you're going to turn the TV up? Okay, cool. So help me out with questions or comments that are in all caps, okay? All right, question. Does it use an RTX 2080? No, it does not. It has a the 1070 Max Q, I think, is the graphics card in there. So it's still pretty robust, but it's not the brand new. They're not positioning this as like the state-of-the-art gaming laptop, and that's why it doesn't look like a gaming laptop. It's a white laptop, but I think that's kind of the attraction of the thing too. Like it's sort of a stealth gaming powerhouse. You can run VR on this thing, which I haven't tested yet, but I'm going to. Okay, good question. Let's see. If you guys have questions in the room, you can shout them out too, or comments or whatever. You want to find out about Jamie? Go ahead and ask.
Yeah. I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
What can we expect this week on EP?
What can we expect on EP? Thank you very much. That's a very good question. On Wednesday, my friend and the prolific writer in the games industry, he's done a little bit of everything, worked at EA for a long time, but has written for various titles out there. And he's also a very interesting fellow because he's a nomad. We had him Skyped into EP Live last year with a terrible connection. He was in Thailand and it was awful. His name is Brooke Burgess, but he is going to be here and chatting live with all of us. He also is an author of novels. He wrote The Cat's Maw, which the audio, and he's good friends with David Kay, who is an incredible voice actor, was the voice of Clank. And the audiobook was recorded by David Kay. So this guy's got lots of great stories and lots of great wisdom and lots of insight on a career in video games, but also taking his skills and applying them in a bunch of different directions. So that's on Wednesday, which is going to be great.
Awesome.
Question, I heard that some of the cutscenes are cheesy. Is that true? From Bubble Buster. This is Devil May Cry. There's cheesy stuff in Devil May Cry. You kind of have to expect it. The one thing I didn't say in the game is that there's a lot of scantily clad ladies in this thing, but then it's Devil May Cry. So it really adheres to the Devil May Cry that you knew and loved when it launched on the PlayStation 2. There's a direct line there, which is charming as hell. It feels a little dated in some areas, but it's Devil May Cry. I mean, it truly is that. And it feels like a return to form. Question, what is your favorite Devil May Cry game to play? I think the first one is still pretty high on my list because it was all so brand new. We'd never seen Dante, although it's harder to go back to the old sort of camera style of the game. This one you can position the camera anywhere that you want. This was a really damn fun game to play. It was like butter, you know. It was just so slick and smooth, and it's constantly giving you cool shit like this. I mean, doesn't that look amazing? And the characters are so badass, and they're assembled in such an interesting way that they're complementing each other, but they feel different, and you're kind of always testing the systems in the game. So this was really fun. I also like the Ninja Theory game, the DMC game, which everybody rides on, but I thought that game was really cool and the mechanics were really solid. It was different, and I know the petulant Dante pissed a lot of people off. If I think about the pecking order, though, I think the first game, because it was brand new, and I know the second game finessed a lot of stuff, but the first game was a big surprise. When can we expect more info about the Escapist show? I've been in touch with them, but they're still figuring things out. As soon as I know and I've got the green light from them, I will share more. But thank you, Sam I Am 111 on that question. Question, what are your thoughts on the Google controller? It looked a little painful from the renders. You see the Google, it's like a lot of square. It almost looked a little Ouya-ish, which, I probably shouldn't say that word out. That's like swearing in 2019. But you know what? I just keep coming back to the fact that Phil Harrison is there, and if they're partnering with Sega in any way on this machine, who isn't excited about that, right?
Yeah, that'll be it.
If Sega is saying, we want to put some of our hardware expertise and some of our library into a new platform that Google is going to distribute, I'm excited as hell. And Phil Harrison is in there. I don't know what all the stuff is going to be yet, but the controller looked rough.
I have a question.
Go for it.
So what are some of the things that you love about what you do?
What are some of the things that I love about what I do? I love all of it, man. I love all of it. I love the connection with the people that I bring onto the show and I get to interview. I love learning. I'm constantly examining a different perspective in these conversations that I have. I love reviewing games and seeing them from the perspective of somebody that has been playing for as long as I have, and seeing how the industry's always in change. And I feel blessed. I feel very lucky that I get to do this. It's such a big question. That all of it is the thing that I have less love for is convincing people that this content is worth people's time. Not just our show, but the fact that we endeavor to, make people a big part of the ingredients. Not, like I sometimes get comments on underneath the reviews on the runs, like, why are you on camera? Why do you go to these weird locations outside? Why don't you just show gameplay footage? And it's like, everybody on Earth is making a channel like that. If you just want to look at gameplay footage and have somebody yak underneath it, you got a million options out there. But the fact that we try to do something that has been distinctly ours for so long, that's what I love.
I remember you and Tommy on scaffolding, interviewing, doing reviews on games.
Reviews on the run was a big part of it.
Yeah.
There's two very real things about the video game industry. It's a very sedentary, business where we're on our butts inside, and it's beautiful. And so the secret to EP is that we would cut to footage that was the most expensive footage ever. So, but people and outside are important, and that's what we did. That's what we changed with our content.
And the outside, I would say, it's good for your mental health.
That too, yeah. It's always changing. All right, you guys, it is time for us to wrap up the show. That's going to do it for us. You did well.
Thank you very much.
You got destroyed by that first boss, which was great.
Oh, that's okay.
The game looks beautiful, and you look beautiful, Jamie. Thank you for being here, buddy.
Not as beautiful as you,
Ralph thanks, buddy. Ralph Macchio. That's the first time I've been called that. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. We'll be back tomorrow with a brand new rundown. Remember, it's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday that we do EP Live. On Wednesday, Brooke Burgess is our guest. The guy's got a list of credits that's enormous. He's a fantastic creator, so please come back for that. Our new time for EP Live is 4:30 p.m. Pacific and 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find us here at 390 West Hastings, the VFS Cafe in Vancouver, if you want to come down and be a part of the show. And it's great being a part of the show, yes?
Yeah.
Yes? So please do that or watch the stream. We'll be back on Wednesday with that. And thank you so much for watching. Get caught up on all the content that we have been making for us. And if you dig it, hit that button, that like button, that subscribe button. And we'll see you soon. Play forever.